And hello, everybody. Vasi Vada Party, Charlie O with you. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for Thursday, September 9th, 2021. Thank you to everybody on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Appreciate all the comments, all the support we get. You can download, subscribe, rate, and review if you miss any of the live broadcast. We're here every Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And then you can catch me on a conversation with Vasi Vada Party various times during the week whenever we get guests, good interviews. Please feel free to download, subscribe to a conversation with as well. Yesterday, I had Marty Lurie talking San Francisco Giants baseball, talking Major League Baseball as well. And don't forget, we're on social media every day. If there's night games only, we'll have our picks out there by 6 o'clock Eastern. And on show days, we'll make our early picks for day games as there are today with 2 day games. And then we'll be back on social media by 6 o'clock Eastern at VParty Sports on Twitter, at VParty Sports on Instagram, MTMAR Podcast. We have a Make the Money and Run Facebook group. You can email us at mtmarpodcast@gmail.com. Saw some of the emails there. Thank you all for that as well. Facebook and Instagram for Charlie as well, too. We're brought to you by the Britannia Arms of Silicon Valley. Britannia Arms of Cupertino, Silicon Valley's longest-running British pub and restaurant since 1981. And I did my math finally. They're celebrating 40 years in Cupertino, with this being 2021. Reach out to them at BritanniaArmsDeanza.com, 408-252-7262. All the NFL, all the college games, Saturdays and Sundays. You got the weekly specials, you got the happy hours, and also they cater to you as well, too. So reach out to them for any catering services you have as well. So thanks to the Britannia Arms of Cupertino. One more note as far as business goes. Come next week, we will have another sponsor yet to be determined. We'll promote it out a little bit. We'll do with fantasy sports with a company called Super Draft, and all the details will be out there as well. You can play against us. You can set up your own leagues. You can do anything you want in terms of daily fantasy, and you can actually win prizes and money for that. So look out for that. Super Draft, week 1 of the NFL starts this week, but we'll get going with that on week 2. Charlie and I will be involved in that, and we hope you will too as well. So thanks to the Britannia Arms. Thanks to Super Draft as well. All right, we move on. The NFL will start tonight. We'll get to the NFL in a second, but we got a lot of baseball to talk about here, Charlie. The Major League Baseball sweepstakes, speaking of winning money and prize money and championships and all that, are winding down the last 3.5 weeks. As I said, I had Marty Lurie on yesterday. San Francisco Giants came back from 3-0 down yesterday. They end up sweeping Colorado. Yes, you heard me right. Colorado got swept at home, the 4th best home record in all of baseball. Goes 0-3. Their pitching's beaten up. Their hitting's not very good. And the Giants came back and ended up winning. The Dodgers have taken the first 2 against the Cardinals. They lose yesterday. They have a day game coming up in about an hour and 5 minutes. We'll have a pick on that possibly. 2 day games today. We'll get to that in a second. But they lose to St. Louis last night. Now the Giants have opened up a wide 2-game lead, Charlie. A wide 2-game lead. Still the 2 best teams in baseball. Atlanta, Philadelphia, and New York, the National League East, or like they did in the NFL last year, the NFC least. The NL East might be the NL least. Atlanta, Philadelphia, New York all lose. And in the wild card, San Diego is up 2 on Cincinnati, who can't seem to win right now. The Cubs are the hottest team in baseball. The Giants are going there. They have a day off today. They'll be in Chicago all weekend. And Philadelphia, St. Louis are 3 back, and the Mets 5 back with no DeGrom and very little hitting against the Miami Marlins last night. Charlie, how are you? What's your takes?
Well, first of all, I'm great. I mean, come on, the NFL starts tonight. How could I not be great? I'm so ready, and it's a great day. And the other thing is, let me make this statement because I'm in utter shock. The first team to 90 wins in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. I mean, right. Come on, anybody who tells me that they saw that coming. Liar. I mean,
nobody saw it coming. There's nobody that saw it coming.
Nobody saw it coming. The Giants didn't see it coming. I mean, come on. This is just incredible. It's been so great for baseball. It really has. And it's going to. We have a pennant race coming right down to the wire in the West between the Dodgers and the Giants. And I know this doesn't mean anything for our folks really in the East because, they always talk about the Giants and the Dodgers formerly in New York. Listen, anybody back there that remembers that is, unfortunately, they're in a home going, I want more oatmeal. It's so, but the Giants Dodgers out here is a huge rivalry. Okay, it's like Yankees and Mets and Cubs and White Sox. It's huge out here. So this is going to be a great for West Coast baseball, which frankly needs a boost, and so this will be a big thing for that coming down to the wire. I'm still loving the fact that the Brewers are into it. I love Craig Counsell, and so I'm that alone makes me very happy. And the East, who can figure that deal out? Who can figure that deal out? I mean, that is unbelievable. Houston seems to finally be making their statement in the American League West. The White Sox have finally seemed to be getting healthy and doing what we thought they would do. And Tampa Bay, I love me some Rays, and that thing seems to be getting straightened out. And the Yankees and Red Sox, why don't they just wave the flag? I mean, neither one of them seem to want to do anything there. So who knows?
Well, let's get more specific in the National League. Obviously, San Francisco swept Colorado. They have a 2-game lead on Los Angeles. They have a 2-game lead on the Tampa Bay Rays for best record in baseball. The Brewers are 5 back in the loss column. A lot of conjecture that the Brewers might go for the best record. They want to get healthy. They want to get their pitching in order. I don't think that that's a big a deal to be the 2 seed. They're going to get a home series anyway, being a division winner. And they've got the 3-headed monster with Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff and Freddie Peralta. Brewers have beaten the Phillies the last 2 nights. The Giants swept Colorado, as I said. Dodgers have taken 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals. They'll have a game 4 coming up in about an hour. But that National League West, very interesting. Oh, by the way, let me correct something. Let me update something. I was under the impression, and I was correctly under the impression, unfortunately, it ended in 2012. So my impression is a little outdated in terms of the head-to-head series for wildcard teams and division winners. Until 2011, if you both made the playoffs, then they would go by head-to-head record to determine division and wildcard. From 2012 on, with the elimination factor and a second wildcard being in place, because of that scenario and the finality of it, they have added a 1-game playoff regardless if you're already in the playoffs or not. So we could be looking, and I was mistaken on that, but right until 2012, that if the Dodgers and Giants ended up in a flat-footed tie, the game would be in San Francisco because they won the head-to-head series, but they would play a game 163. So let's hear about that I get that correct, because that would be unbelievable to have a game 163 in San Francisco between Los Angeles and the Giants. And I don't know if I want that to be rooted for because it's in San Francisco as a Dodgers fan, but that would be great for San Francisco. That'd be great for baseball to have a game 163. I'm looking at the other divisions right now. I don't think the American League West would get there. There's a great possibility that the National League East would have a possibility of a game 163 as well in terms of division.
We would only watch the highlights on ESPN of that game.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But the fact is, and then there's all sorts of permutations, and then the wild card tie scenarios would be the same as well. If you're talking about 4 teams right now, as I look at the screen, San Diego up 2 on Cincinnati, 3 on Philadelphia, St. Louis, 5 up on New York. So what they would do there, and we'll get to the intricacies of the teams themselves. Cincinnati struggling, St. Louis having a tough time with the Dodgers, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee. We know what Milwaukee's pitching is. In New York, you can't figure New York out, but right now they're on a streak. They didn't hit the ball at all in Miami last night. That was a tough loss for me in extra innings, only scoring 1 run against the Miami Marlins, who have good pitching. Alcantara is really good, but boy, that was a tough one to watch. There's a scenario where all 4 teams are tied. The head-to-head round robins go up against each other, and they'll be designated A to D, and then A and B will play, and C and D will play, and all the machinations. But all these elimination games will take place before the actual wild card game goes to bed, because they're all elimination games. And then the division series will come up, and then the LCS and all that other stuff. But anyway, keep following it. We'll get you as close as we can to the information as the time goes.
How wild would that be? And I mean, this is 2021. So how wild would it be if all of that came together?
It would be unbelievable. There's no doubt, and it's a good possibility. Yeah, and it's a good possibility.
That would just be awesome.
Yeah, and it would be a good possibility in terms of how everybody's playing. So let's hit the wild card here. We got the division races pretty well sewn up. San Francisco and LA are the ones fighting out for the NL West. Also, that includes best record in all of Major League Baseball and best record in the National League. San Diego Padres, they lost their they won their last game against the Angels. Blake Snell almost had a no-hitter 2-9, and they ended up losing to the Angels. They're 15.5 in the division. Forget the division. 2 up on the Reds, who are having a struggle right now for some reason. 3-10. They're having a tough time with the red-hot Chicago Cubs. They lose on a walk-off last night to Jason Hayward, of all people. 4-1, the Reds lose in Chicago last night. Philadelphia lost to Milwaukee. St. Louis beat the Dodgers 5-4, almost gave that up in the 9th inning as well, too. And the New York Mets lost 2-1 in 10 innings to the Miami Marlins. What are we looking at in this National League wildcard, Charlie? Because there's still, as I counted out, there's probably roughly about 22 to 24 games for everybody amongst these 4 teams in the playoffs. 5 teams in the wild card.
Well, Vasu, what did I tell you way back in June? The Reds are going to fade. Why are the Reds going to fade? Because the Reds always fade. It's just in their history. It's in their DNA. There's a missing element there for them still in this team. And I think it's in pitching at this point. They're just going to fade. They don't have that element there to push them through to the finish line yet. Philly, for Philly fans, I would love to see it happen. Again, they don't seem to have the will. They just don't seem to have the will. St. Louis, I would love to see St. Louis come through. Again, inconsistent, just so inconsistent there. The Mets, that's all I got to say. So by default, and I really mean this at this point, by default at this point, I think it's going to be the Padres. Okay. I don't think they necessarily deserve to be there because I with all of that talent and all of that spending that they did, they've played horrible defense, yeah. And their pitching.
You can see it coming. I mean, just look at the players they had. I saw it in April,
and I keep bowing because you called it right in April. But they, I think they're going to be there by default. So I think you're going to have a wild card that's going to be between either the Dodgers in San Diego or the Giants in San Diego. That's going to be there. I still see that scenario happening.
Yeah, the Padres are 13.5 back of the number 1 wild card seed. I believe that's 13.5 back, and then let me see, 13 back of the Dodgers officially in the wild card standings, 15 back of the Giants in the loss column from that standpoint. Here's the caveat of teams that are not playing very well right now. None of these teams are playing very well. San Diego, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, St. Louis, the Mets are not playing well. So by default, it could end up being a close race, not by actual good baseball. But here's the caveat as they get into whoever they play, whether it's the Dodgers or the Giants in that wild card scenario, is that Blake Snell, Yu Darvish could have a great 1 game. Wade Miley could have a great 1 game. Aaron Nola could have a great 1 game for Philadelphia. Adam Wainwright, who's unbelievably recovered his career this year at 15-5 now for the St. Louis Cardinals, could have a 1 great game. And who knows, Jacob deGrom could come back, and we all know how good he is. He could have a 1 great game, and all of a sudden these teams that are fading down here in the second wild card, fighting for that second wild card, Charlie, are going to end up beating the Dodgers or Giants in that wild card game, and everybody's going to say, what happened?
Yeah, well, Vasu, I hate this 1-game wild card. Last year, I loved it because we had a wild card series. And I really believe this wild card has to be a 2 out of 3, a 3-game series. I just believe that. I mean, this is not football. Okay. This is not football. You've got to have, this is baseball, and baseball is a series based game. And to have a one and done, there's nothing else in baseball that's a one and done.
Right.
So this is an anomaly that has to be addressed with baseball. I mean, we'll cheer, we'll watch it, we'll bet on it. I mean, we'll do all those things. We'll do all those things, but it's not the way baseball should be done.
Well, we'll see if the contract comes up, the players' union and the owner's contract comes up. Maybe that'll be something that's there. They've already talked about taking away some of the new rules that they've had for the pandemic type rules, the 7-inning doubleheaders, the runner at second. I'm all right with the 3-batter minimum because we grew up in an era where relievers would pitch more than 1 inning. Anyway, all right, National League side away. Let's take a break. We'll hit the American League as we are 1/4 of the way through the show on the Make the Money and Run podcast for Thursday, September 2nd, sponsored by the Britannia Arms of Cupertino, BritanniaArmsDeanza.com, 408-252-7262 for all your NFL and college football action. Back in 30 seconds with the American League Outlook. Vasivada Party Charlie O here for the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasivada Party Charlie O, welcome back to the Make the Money and Run for Thursday, September 9th. Opening day of the NFL. We'll hit all the NFL in a second. We just finished the National League. We're here every Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Thanks to Facebook and YouTube Live for all your comments and everybody watching us live. We'll have later picks as well by 6 o'clock Eastern for the night games as well as the football game. No college football tonight. Great move by the NCAA. Don't put yourself up against the NFL on opening night. So 4 games tomorrow on Friday, a big slate on Saturday. Not as good as it was on week 1, and we'll hit the college games in a little bit. And then tomorrow we'll be back at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. on the Pacific time side, and we'll have our intern Nick Robinson with his unique wagering angles, player props, and everything that goes with that. Britannia Arms, our sponsor, celebrating 40 years in Cupertino, Silicon Valley's longest-running British pub and restaurant since 1981. You can contact them for catering. Just go in there and have their happy hour specials during the week. And then football on Saturday and Sundays as well. So very good by them. And then next week we'll have a brand new sponsor that I want to talk about, and we'll promote it online socially. Make sure you keep up on our social media pages as well, too. All right, we hit the National League. The dud that is a wild card in the National League, it might be the same in the American League right now when it gets to the wild card standings because Tampa Bay running away with that division. They are 10 up on Boston, who is in second place because they have more wins than the Yankees. Yankees have lost 5 in a row. Boston beat Tampa Bay last night on a walk-off, but they're 10 back in that division in the American League East in the loss column. The Yankees are in third place, but they're only 9 back in the American League East because of the less number of games they've had. Boston's played 142. The Yankees have played 139, and the Rays have played 140 games the Rays have played. So 22 games, and then Toronto is also 10 back. Division-wise, this is the Tampa Bay Rays division. People can name 5 guys on that team now because they're probably getting a little more national time. But Nelson Cruz, and I was talking to Marty Lurie, and again, you can comment on, you can catch it and download the Marty Lurie interview. Nelson Cruz has become, to the East Coast Tampa Bay Rays, what Chris Bryant has become for the San Francisco Giants, the middle of the bat superstar. Now, he doesn't play any positions, but like Chris Bryant does. But that bat in the middle of the order has definitely complemented the rest of the lineup for those Tampa Bay Rays that nobody knows.
Yeah, absolutely. And, hey, who cares if he plays a position? It's American League. Now, the only thing that becomes a problem for the Rays is the fact that during the World Series, he won't be, there'll be games in the National League parks where he won't be able to be the DH.
He did play first base against Philadelphia about 2.5 weeks ago, and it was not pretty.
So there's always a downside. So you have to make those decisions, because, do you eat the airs? And, I, especially in a World Series game, which they tend to supposedly be lower scoring, you've got to make those decisions. So those are tough, but the Rays, gosh, I love them.
They're good.
I love their philosophy. I love the fact that they home grow so many of their players. It's great baseball. It's great baseball, and be watching them, folks. Be watching them all the way through the playoffs. I mean, they could easily be in the World Series.
No doubt. That's Nevada Party Charlie O here on the Make the Money and Run podcast, American League Baseball. Talking about next segment, we will hit the NFL opening night between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the defending champion Buccaneers, and the Dallas Cowboys, and a healthy offense for the Dallas Cowboys as well, too. But let's get back to American League Baseball here. So the American League East, we see Tampa Bay pretty much going to wrap up that East division. Boston and Toronto fighting out for that wild card spot. The wild card actually being held by the Red Sox right now, by virtue of the fact that they have 2 more wins, but 1 more loss than the Yankees. So they're actually up a half a game, but down in the loss column by 1. Again, that's because the Yankees have played less games. The Toronto Blue Jays have taken it to the Yankees. They're in a 5-game losing streak. They are 1 back of New York in the second wildcard spot right now at 76-62, 9-1 in their last 10. They're plus 143 for the season in run differential. Marcus Semien, 38 home runs. Vladimir Guerrero, 41 home runs. Teoscar Hernandez was an all-star starter. Robbie Ray was pitcher of the week last week for the American League. They've got it going on right now from the standpoint of they are hot. I just don't know if they have enough pitching to keep going. Alex Manoah pitched pretty well against the Yankees yesterday, too. He's going to be a young rising superstar for the Blue Jays. But you got Toronto at 1 back of New York, even with Boston. This is all lost column. Seattle 3 back after their come from behind win against the Astros yesterday. Tough one for me. I had the Astros yesterday up 4-2 in the 8th, and for some reason the Astros bullpen didn't hang on, ended up losing 8-4. So they gained a game, as did Oakland. Frankie Montas, who we criticized early in the year, I'll be the first one to say that, has come out and pitched really well the last month, and Frankie Montas shut down the White Sox very easily last night. I believe it was 6-1 was the final, or 4-1 was the final. I forgot, but they only gave up 1 run over 7 innings. Seattle is 3 back of the Yankees. They are fighting it out. I don't know if they have enough bats. A lot of people think that they're kind of running out of gas as well, too, with their pitching. They only have 1 guy over double-digit wins, and that's Chris Flexen. Marco Gonzalez was hurt. Their bullpen has been really good. I'm still not sure if that bullpen trade was good for Seattle to get Castillo, other than being able to hang on to him through 2022, but letting go of Graveman, who's pitching very well for the Astros. The Astros are 6 up in the division after Seattle and Oakland both won. The Astros losing to Seattle last night. What do we think about Houston from a divisional standpoint? And then this wild card, Charlie, especially the AL West, Seattle and Oakland 3 back, Yankees, Boston. Not sure who's going to take it there because both are not playing well right now. And then, of course, you got the Toronto Blue Jays, the hottest team in baseball.
Well, first of all, I think I haven't doubted for a while that Houston was going to win the West. Man, they're tough. And I hate them. I hate them. I shouldn't hate them because basically the regime that created all that scandal is gone. And I know some of the players that are still there, but they're playing legitimate, great baseball. So what they're doing is for real, and they're playing great baseball. They're fun to watch. So that it's what they're doing is for real. And I think they're very, very tough. Very, very tough. As far as the wild card, again, I'm a little disappointed because it's almost maybe we want to win it, maybe we don't. Boston, New York, very inconsistent. Toronto, though, I'm kind of excited about because they've been coming on.
How can you not be excited about them?
They've been fighting and clawing and coming back into it. And I wonder how the A's feel right now about that decision to not re-sign Marcus Semien. I mean, Elvis Andrus.
He signed a 1 year with Toronto. They can get him back next year.
But right now, I mean, what difference would he make? Elvis Andrus, Marcus Semien. What difference would that make right now in their where they are? I mean, it would be huge because what's Andrus batting? I don't know, 198. 1 home run on the season, I think.
Mario Mendoza is turning off the TV when he's watching Elvis Andrus.
What? Okay, mark that line down. Bing. Okay.
You're welcome, Mario Mendoza, for getting a shout out on the Make the Money and Run podcast.
There we go, man. That's the most positive Mendoza line that's been there for a long time. But Toronto, I think, is very exciting there. Seattle, I'm with you. I don't know whether that bullpen move is a good move or not, because I think that's what's going to hinge for them. Oakland, I don't know, Vasu. I thought Oakland was going to be kind of a shoe-in to the wild card. I have grave doubts about whether or not they're going to make the wild card. I really do. I think one of the things I'm going to watch, Sean Manaea is going today for them, and I want to see how he pitches. He's been very inconsistent this season, of course, as was Montas. But they need Manaea down the stretch, and if he's not there for him, they're cooked. So I'm very interested to see how he pitches today. I think that'll tell me a lot about where they're going to be coming from. And then after that, there's nobody else that's involved in my mind. So I still look at it right now. I like Toronto. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised at all to see Boston and the Yankees fall completely out of it, because I don't think the Yankees got serious when they made the trades. But now they're not playing like they're serious. And I don't know what's wrong there. I really do not what's wrong there. And it's not Aaron Boone. If I hear one more time it's Aaron Boone and his management, I'm just going to vomit.
Well, you can't fire 25 players or 26 players now on the roster.
But it's just.
I like Aaron Boone. I've always liked Aaron Boone. He comes from a great baseball family, and he's not the problem. He knows what he's doing up there.
So the Yankees can fire another manager and go someplace else and be successful.
No doubt. All right, we'll thumbnail the American League right now. I'll give you the little thought that I have before we go to break here for the NFL. First of all, I want to thank Frank O'Neill for coming on. Go Giants. He's a big Giants fan. And I'll tell you how I know Frank O'Neill in a second. And, of course, he and I, this is the only thing we agree on, is to stick it to the Yankees, because I'm still bad about that. So Frank O'Neill, my favorite bartender at the Public House in San Francisco. Unfortunately, he's not there this year. He moved to San Diego. So I miss him slinging drinks and giving me a whole load of crap about the Dodgers over the years. So thanks for watching, Frank. Appreciate it. And to everybody on Facebook and YouTube Live as well. Tampa Bay will run the division. They're very consistent right now. Pitching-wise, their bullpen is outstanding. I don't know how well they need their starters. Michael Wacha's a starter. Ryan Yarbrough comes in and starts games, but he was the guy that won 17 games last year. But they're playing the best baseball of anybody right now. And hitting-wise, Cruz, Brandon Lau, 31 home runs. They're playing very well. I'm not worried about Tampa Bay. I mean, nobody knows who Tampa Bay is, and yet they're 2 games back of the San Francisco Giants for best record in baseball, which, by the way, does matter when it comes to the World Series. Boston, very inconsistent. We didn't think they were going to be very good this year. Chris Sale is back, but the rest of their pitching, Evaldi's been okay, but the rest of their starting pitching is going to be a problem, and their bullpen is not very good. And when you get this late in the year, you need your bullpen. Matt Barnes was a closer. He was perfect for the first couple of months, but I think he may have been overused, and I'm not sure exactly where the situation lies there. But middle relief has been a big problem for the American League East. I'm not sure about Toronto's pitching. Robbie Ray and Alex Manoah have been good, and when you get to a 5-game series, if they get to a 5-game series, that could be the deciding factor, because they can hit, and that ball flies in Toronto. Now they're back in Canada, and that ball is flying in Toronto as well. Their offense, we talked about their offense. They are plus 143 in run differential. I think that's second or third in the American League. Third in the American League, behind the Houston Astros and the Tampa Bay Rays at 179 runs, 173, and then 143, I believe, is the third. Yeah, that's right. And then the White Sox are at 135. In the Central, the White Sox are going to carry that series, where they've got this afternoon game with Oakland. They're 10 up on Cleveland. Cleveland had a chance to win. They nearly got perfect game by a young guy, September call-up, Joe Ryan, yesterday. So that tells me that Cleveland's been very inconsistent, and they have not had their shot at it. So the division's wrapped up for the White Sox. Houston, yeah, probably the best team out of that division, but they've been very inconsistent too. Their bullpen, they're not sure who they're going to close with. They got Graveman for the 7th and 8th innings. Maybe he should be the 9th inning guy. Ryan Presley's the one who gave it up against Seattle yesterday in terms of blowing that 4-2 lead. They were lucky to win 2 nights ago without Bregman's game-tying home run and then the walk-off in the 10th inning. Seattle and Oakland, I don't know if Seattle has the pitching to keep up with this. Hitting-wise right now, it seems like their bats are going. Kyle Seager, brother of Corey, Kyle Seager, 31 home runs. Kelnick is having a great rookie year for them, playing center field. He's the one who won the game for them. They've got a bunch of guys over there. Ty France has kind of resurrected his career. They've got guys on there, but I don't know if they have the pitching enough. Oakland, their bullpen's been their biggest problem. It seems like they can hit, but they do go in hitting slumps. And so I don't know where that's going to be. So right now it's a bunch of inconsistencies, and I don't know who has the least number of inconsistencies that's going to be able to finish in this 1-2 wild card spot, because right now both slots are up for grabs, and there's still 3 teams that are behind them in the wild card. So it's going to be an interesting race. This is Thursday, so we'll have 3 weeks till we get to Thursday, and then 4 days to Sunday. So 3 weeks and 4 days until the end of the regular season, and then we have the game 163s for all these other teams that are gonna take place as well too. So it's gonna be, I know it's going to be a very interesting scenario for the next 3 weeks. We'll do a little bit more baseball tomorrow, and we'll preview the weekend games. But we are going to talk NFL football, as the NFL will start tonight with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys, the defending Super Bowl champions, from Tampa tonight, 8:20 on NBC. We will get to that in 30 seconds, the NFL and a little touch of college football as we preview the weekend and get ready for the Friday football show tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific. Of course, our intern, Nick Robinson. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast, sponsored by Britannia Arms of Cupertino. Back in 30 seconds with the NFL outlook and a preview of tonight's game. Welcome back. Charlie Ovasivada, part of the Make the Money and Run podcast for Thursday, September 9th, 2021. We're here every Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Tomorrow we'll have our Friday football segment. We'll touch a little baseball, but then it'll be all football for college football on Saturday, NFL football on Sunday. Get your fantasy rosters all set up tomorrow. I will have my fantasy football roster, and I would love to hear comments from everybody on who I should start and who I should not start. I do not have anybody. I believe I do not have anybody from tonight's game at all. Dallas. I don't like Dallas. I rarely take Dallas guys. And then I don't have any Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And why don't I have any Tampa Bay Buccaneers? All right, I'm going to have to go through my roster again. But anyway, love to hear from everybody. You can get to us on Facebook and YouTube. You can get to us on social media, anywhere you get your social media. We also have a Make the Money and Run Facebook page as well, to our email, mtmarpodcast@gmail.com. Britannia Arms of Cupertino, celebrating 40 years right here in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley's longest running British restaurant and pub since 1981. They also cater to local companies, Silicon Valley companies. If you're interested in catering or having events set up there, 408-252-7262, BritanniaArmsDeanza.com. All right, we talked a lot of baseball. Let's hit the NFL, Charlie. We've got a game tonight. We've got a game that counts. And there's a lot of conjecture about what's going to happen tonight between the Dallas Cowboys, who are just putrid awful. Granted, they did not have Dak Prescott last year. The pandemic certainly did not help. Their offensive weapons, Ezekiel Elliott seems like he's back in the mix from that standpoint. Their offensive line is a little weak. Zach Martin's out for COVID. They're all pro left guard. But Prescott's back. He's got CeeDee Lamb. He's got Michael Gallup back. They've got Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield. Tampa Bay, the defending champions, their defense was really good last year, the last 5 weeks of the season and into the playoffs, where they went on the road and beat Drew Brees. They beat Aaron Rodgers, and they beat the Washington football team in Washington because they were the wild card. Washington won the division, but Washington's defense is no slouch, and I think people will see that in 2021. And we'll talk about Washington in a bit. But Tampa Bay and Dallas, there's the line. Tampa Bay is 8.5, and that's gone up from 7. I think for weeks it was 7, and now everybody believes in TB12. And all 11 starters returning both on offense and defense. 8.5. They're all in sync with each other. 51.5 the total against the Cowboys. Charlie, Prescott's back. It's going to be interesting. Brady, I don't know. I mean, when is he ever going to have a downgrade? It never seems like it at all. And we'll see how it is. 45 years old coming into tonight. Tampa Bay, Dallas, all the celebration tonight, Charlie.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I'm glad you mentioned the fantasy. I've got two guys going tonight. I got Lamb and Evans going tonight. So woo woo, I'm even more excited now. I got my fantasy team working. Yeah, and the lines are moving. DraftKings just moved that line to 9.5 in that game. Although the best line right now is still at the Westgate, which still has the game at 7.5.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you're looking and can get any Westgate numbers, that's the bargain right now in that game. So there you go. But yeah, the big story here. Well, first of all, there's two stories. Number one, you've got Tampa Bay coming back with the phenomenal story of you have all 22 starters from a Super Bowl winning team returning this season. I mean, I don't have a memory of that happening, Vasu. Now, granted, my memory's not as good as it used to be.
No, but you're right. No, but
I
you're
just
right.
don't have a memory of that happening, and that's just incredible. So, how can you not have them be the favorites? That's just incredible.
By the way, the line on my site just moved, so I just updated it. Went up to 9, and the over/under went up to 52.5. Wow. They really want some Cowboys money, it looks like right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and Cowboys money is going to be huge. That's one thing you've got to factor in when you're looking at these lines, because it is America's team. And we laugh about that, but there are a ton of Cowboys fans all over the place. I mean, people don't recognize the fact that there are a ton of Cowboys fans in Southern California because the Cowboys training camp is in Thousand Oaks, and they have trained out there for decades. And there are a lot of Cowboys fans in Southern California where it's a big population base. So, and I know there's no legal gambling in California, so it wouldn't move a line at all. But it's a situation there where the Cowboys all of a sudden are very excited. Dak is back, and we're going to have to wait and see what that means. How is the ankle? I'm not really worried about the ankle. I'm worried about the shoulder. When you start talking about shoulder issues, I get antsy. And one of the things that they had to do, we talked about this earlier, they were so concerned about the shoulder, they went to the Rangers and said, hey, what he's got with his shoulder is more like a pitching injury than it is a football injury. And they got with them to try to figure out how to rehab him. That makes me antsy. When you start talking about a quarterback having mechanical injury problems with his throwing motion, I don't know. It's really going to be interesting to see how he comes out of the gate right now, because, man, they need him. They need him really badly. Plus the fact they just threw a ton of money at him. Now, I know with Jerry's World and what they do down there. I mean, we laugh about Jerry's World, but that stadium is used all the time. Jerry Jones is not going to go broke. Jerry Jones can throw money at everybody, including Vasu and I, and he's never going broke because that stadium is used all the time. But they just threw a ton of money at Dak Prescott, and he needs to perform for them to do well.
Well, I think he's going to have to perform because nobody knows how good this defense is going to be, because they were awful last year and even the last few years. Their defense was awful. They were giving up rushing yards worse than some of the best Swiss cheese I've ever had, and their secondary couldn't cover anybody. I mean, they couldn't cover anybody last year. They couldn't even catch the pandemic. I mean, I shouldn't joke about the pandemic, but anyway, they couldn't catch anything last year.
We got to do.
Yeah, I know.
We got to smile, man. We got to smile.
Yeah, but anyway, the point being that the defense was bad, and Tom Brady is very precise in his mechanics and his using of his offensive weapons. They've added a little bit more touch to the running game a little bit. So all you need is a running game to go complement a quarterback like Tom Brady to begin with. 7 championships coming in to this year, and you don't think he wants to win. You don't think Bruce Arians wants to win. Bruce Arians, you get a little taste of that winning. He had a little bit with Pittsburgh, but he was an assistant. Now he's got it as a head coach. You don't think he wants to go back and go get it again a second time. So I'm fascinated by how good Dak Prescott's going to be. The offensive line is very weak right now. We said Zach Martin is on COVID. He's out for at least this week one. They've got to protect him because that defensive line, those linebackers, they had some scheme set up from the last 5 weeks of the season when they were 7-5, right through that run of not losing any games all the way to the end of the season through the Super Bowl against Kansas City last year. And you saw what happened. You saw what happened with Patrick Mahomes last year when he couldn't get protected at all. And this is Patrick Mahomes we're talking about. Their left tackle, their right tackle did not play well. In fact, they got replaced. Right tackle was replaced. The guy whose brother's a media guy, Mitchell Schwartz, didn't even play in the Super Bowl last year at right tackle. And Eric Fisher, they released Eric Fisher after the season ended, and he was a number one pick, first round pick a number of years ago out of Central Michigan or somewhere out in that area. But the fact is that they had to replace the offensive line, so that doesn't happen to Patrick Mahomes again. And now here's Dak Prescott with a very iffy offensive line going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense that has rushed the quarterback. Sue's there, and their linebacker that played well in the Super Bowl is there. I don't have the roster in front of me, but they are tremendous, and their secondary got healthy in the second half once they replaced Carlton Davis at cornerback. And so it's moving up. The line is moving up to 9. DraftKings has it, you said, at 9.5. The individual player props offensively, I would start looking at some offensive player props tonight because it's going to be I think the game probably might go over depending on how the weather is down there. I think the weather's pretty good down there. But these two teams are very precise. Tampa Bay's defense is really good, so that's the only thing that would scare me about the over. But I think Tampa Bay can come out and win the game. Now, are they going to win by 9 points? Boy, I don't know. Check back with us at 6 Eastern when we have more information on the weather and who's playing, and the injury list will all come out by that point. The injury list, I think. When did the injury list, Charlie, come out on? An hour and a half before game times? Is that right?
Yeah. It should be out around I think 3:30. Okay. It should be about 6:30 in the East and about 3:30 in the West.
All right, so we'll have all the updates and we'll have everything for you by 6 o'clock Eastern as much as we can get. But what early takes you have for the Cowboys and Buccaneers tonight from the game standpoint, Charlie?
Well, it's interesting. I always like to watch the player props because that always tells me a great deal about what I mean. Vegas doesn't like to lose money, and they got a ton of experts that are always going to tell you what they think. For instance, with Dak Prescott, they are recommending you take the under 25.5 passing completions. Okay. So they're not believing there, although they're not wild about Brady going over 25.5. The best for Brady is 2.5 passing touchdowns. So I'm sorry, they like. I'm wrong. Don't back off your bets. They like Dak going over 25.5. So they think he's gonna be throw. But you know what? That could mean interception as well. So by the way, the weather right now, it's raining, 82 degrees. Let me see if I can get game time here. Talk a second, Vesu.
Yeah, Tampa Bay, 9 points, 52.5. Weather pending down there. We know it's South Florida, and the weather has issues with that. But right now, if Dallas can run the ball and Ezekiel Elliott can come back to where he needs to be, it'll be an interesting scenario on how Tampa Bay stops him because they're going to have to stop Prescott. And Charlie mentioned it earlier. We'd have no idea what's going to happen in terms of his recovery from his shoulder. They say he's 100%. I don't know any coach or any media person that ever told the truth about how injured somebody is anyway. So it's going to be something that we'll see at the during the game in terms of how healthy he is. But from all indications are he's back. He took the year off, and everything is working out from that standpoint. All right, so Tampa Bay 9, 52.5, game time at 8:20 tonight on NBC, 5:20 on the West Coast. And we'll have the injury reports by 6 o'clock on our side as well, too. Go ahead, Charlie.
Predicted weather, partly cloudy, 82 degrees, 43% humidity, real feel, 88 degrees.
All right, let's touch on a couple of other NFL games just for the weekend. We'll have a full preview of all of them. The games I'm interested in this weekend, just from the naked eye, not even looking at the research, Steelers and Buffalo Bills. Want to see how Ben Roethlisberger's new offense. They've got Najee Harris. Buffalo, we know, probably the second best team in the AFC right now. Hard to say. I'm interested to see Joe Burrow back for the Bengals. The Vikings, I don't know how good they're going to be. I don't think they're going to be very good. Arizona goes to Tennessee. Tennessee adds Julio Jones to a team that scores 30 points a game from a year ago. Derrick Henry is back as well. Looks like Carson Wentz is going to play for the Colts. Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, they got to fix that defense. Jonathan Taylor had a 1,000-yard-plus year last year. The Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence going to Houston on the road. Obviously, the afternoon game, the AFC Championship rematch, the Browns and the Chiefs. Dolphins, Patriots. I guess Mac Jones, interesting story for Mac Jones, to a second year, the battle of the Alabama quarterbacks. And then they moved the game to Florida, Jacksonville, right, for the Packers and Saints. They moved the game Sunday afternoon, Green Bay, New Orleans, 4:25 Eastern on Fox. Green Bay a 4-point favorite as of now at New Orleans, theoretically, but the game's in Jacksonville. And then my Bears on Sunday night going to face Aaron Donald and that defense against the Rams. The Jets and Panthers, the number one look for me because I'm a big Sam Darnold guy, and I think Sam Darnold, not only does he have something to prove to his new teammates, but that was just a messy situation for him to be in the 4 or 5 years that he was there with the New York Jets. So those are my takes. And, of course, Justin Herbert going up against that Washington defense. A lot of people think the Chargers are going to be better than they were last year. The football team, they can run the ball. Their defense, that front four, better than a lot of front fours in the NFL. So that's the early takes. Just on a thumbnail, we'll preview all those games. Charlie, what interests you on Sunday as far as the NFL games go?
Well, I'm very interested to see how Aaron Rodgers plays. I really am. We've heard all of the whine, the cry. I mean, so much wine and cheese there that Napa doesn't have anything left in the story in the kegs or the cask anymore out there with this. So I want to see how he plays. At this point, come on. Do you have anything? Was it worth hearing all of this? And the farewell tour, all of this stuff. Let's see what's there. I'm also interested to see how Joe Burrow is, which I want that kid to be 110%. I really do. I like him. I've got a lot of friends. I grew up in Southwestern Ohio. I've got friends who have just died with the Bengals for so long. And I would love to see them do well. I'm also interested to see the battle of Alabama quarterbacks. I think the Dolphins and Patriots will be fun just from that. First time ever, by the way, that Belichick has started a rookie quarterback.
Right.
So, I think that'll be fascinating. They may have to get the paddles out for him, just on the sidelines, just because of that. So that that'll be kind of fun to see what that does along the line there. Let me see anything else that really. So Sam Darnold, I am interested to see there, and I want him to do.
I'm a big Zach Wilson guy. I'm a big Zach Wilson fan.
Yeah. I would like to see something there. By the way, I've been seeing flashes again today about who the Bears are going to start. I mean, do you think there's any chance at all that Fields is starting for the Bears?
No, I thought he's already mentioned that Andy Dalton's starter. We'll have the depth charts. We'll get all the depth charts out. I'm going to go through all the depth charts today, but basically San Francisco said Garoppolo's going to go. Mac Jones going to start for New England. Actually, San Francisco didn't say it, but he's listed as number one on the depth chart.
No, but Jimmy G said it yesterday.
Jimmy G, they probably did tell him. And then Ryan Tannehill coming off the COVID is starting for Tennessee. Kyler Murray, that'll be an interesting game as well, too. Has there been any resolution on the Kirk Cousins anti-vaccine situation? Is he going to play on Sunday for the Minnesota Vikings?
I don't know. I mean, first of all, it's the Vikings, so I don't care.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to get into it. When every time I hear vaccine issues, I just go, blah, 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 blah,
yeah.
Because
I'm just curious if he's going to start because this is going to affect our show and our point spreads here.
I know. But I get worn out with that. And I do want to respect people's decisions, but I'm just worn out.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's certain views that everybody has on that. as a former HR employee, as a former HR director, we have our opinions as far as companies and what companies have a right to do and what individuals have to do. But the bottom line is, and we all heard it from our parents, is you have every right to make your own decisions, but you have to accept the consequences of your decision as it relates to everybody else.
Yes, your parents went to the same school my parents went
to. They did. Yes, they did. There's no doubt about that. So anyway, lots of football to talk about. A full football preview show on tomorrow at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. We'll preview all the NFL games. We'll get all the lines. We'll get all the injury reports. We'll even get some of the depth charts out just to see what's going on with some of these teams, because there's a lot of new names out there as well. College football, let's switch over to college football. We haven't had a chance to talk to Charlie since last weekend. What a weekend in college football last weekend in terms of the games. My three favorite games, I didn't have a very good weekend. I went 3-7, but my three favorite games all won. So maybe that tells me something about what to do going forward on the weekends. But some of the games this weekend that we'll preview tomorrow as well too. The Oregon Ducks are going to Ohio State. Auburn has Alabama State. Notre Dame, if you can find them on the Peacock Network, they'll be on as well against the University of Toledo. Texas A&M is going to visit the Pac-12 and play Colorado. The big game, let's see, Texas-Arkansas, pretty good basketball game. Not sure it's going to be a good football game. Utah-BYU, it'll be an interesting game as well, too. That game on Saturday night. Utah's defense against BYU, who looked okay against Arizona last week, should have covered that game. And then the two big ones on Saturday, which we'll spend a little bit of time about, is the in-state battle in Iowa. The number 10 Hawkeyes will go to Iowa State. Iowa coming off a big win over Indiana yesterday. Iowa State barely got by last week. I think probably they both were looking – well, actually, Iowa played pretty well. Indiana's pretty good. At least they were pretty good. But that's a big in-state rivalry, and we know how Midwest football is. A big in-state rivalry between Iowa and Iowa State, 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 here on the West Coast on ABC. Washington, Michigan, the second game of that doubleheader, I believe, is at where are they? September 11th, right? I don't see the game on here. 5 o'clock. I guess maybe not. Okay, Washington. I thought Washington, Michigan was tomorrow as well, too, but they're not. Oh, you know what? I know why. Because I'm on the top 25 list, and neither one of them is top 25. Hang on there.
When they do that.
Yeah, I know. 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Georgia State, North Carolina. Yeah, Washington, Michigan, the second game of the doubleheader. Fox will have the 9 o'clock game will be the Oregon, Ohio State game. They will have Texas. They will have Colorado. I just saw who Colorado was playing. They are playing Texas A&M. And then the night game on Fox will be 10:30 Eastern. I will be there in Los Angeles. The Stanford Cardinal, who looked awful on Saturday against Kansas State. They're going to go to USC, who looked really good on Saturday. I don't know why I'm going on Saturday, but I'll figure it out at that point. But Stanford at USC, it's already a 17-point favorite for USC on Saturday night. This is the time for Stanford to maybe jump up and take that 17 and maybe show them a little bit.
By the way, Vasu, just quickly, we've got to talk about that LSU UCLA game. Holy cow.
That was my favorite game. That was one of my three favorite games that I won last week.
I have become such a channel surfer with games. You know, I seldom just lock in on a game. I just have to be honest.
Yeah.
I stayed with that game. I kept going, okay, I need to go to another game. I can't leave this game. I cannot leave that game. And I'm not that big of a Chip Kelly fan. I really not. But UCLA,
he's got a team.
You know, they were just playing great football. And you know, if you're the SEC, you're going, we just lost to a team that has surfboards. You know, I mean, I can do that, by the way, folks. My roots are Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia, so I can get away with that. Yeah. It was just great football. Great football. And man, if you're in the Pac-12 right now, you got to be going, we got to gear up for this UCLA team. Because
I like UCLA. UCLA, USC are going to compete with Oregon. Some of the games from last week, Alabama looked great. The SEC better figure out how to stop that defense. Miami did not score against them. Ohio State gave up 31 to Minnesota. Iowa, we said, beat Indiana 38-16. Texas in what we thought was going to be a close game. And the state of Washington had a bad week last week as well. But the three big games last week, UNC upset by Virginia Tech. Clemson got beat by Georgia. Georgia's defense was outstanding. Their offense, if they're going to compete with Alabama, they better figure out some offense. That touchdown, the only return of the game, the only score of the game from a touchdown standpoint. My three games last week were Penn State plus 5.5, Georgia plus 3, and UCLA plus 3. And I should have left it at that because I was 0-7 in the rest of them.
But Georgia, okay. Hello, Georgia.
Yeah, they're going to have to figure out how to get some offense because if they don't have any offense, Alabama will run them through the table. But
I'm sorry. As we always said, if there was relegation in the NFL, Alabama would be in the NFL. I mean, they just, and I don't mean that. I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're doing illegal things or anything else. They're just a great football program. And,
no doubt about
it. It's, they've got it together. But the conference that had the best week last week, and I hats off to them. The Big Sky.
Yeah.
They just beat up on Division I teams. Let's see. Eastern Washington won.
Montana.
What's that?
Montana.
That's right.
Montana State.
South Dakota State. I don't know that they're in the Big Sky anymore, but South Dakota State won. These football championship series teams just they were pumped up. And it was just incredible. So much for being walkover teams. It was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy last week. So.
No doubt about it. We'll have a full Friday preview football show along with college football and the NFL as well, too. We're sponsored by the Britannia Arms of Cupertino. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast, 40 years in Cupertino, celebrating since 1981, Silicon Valley's longest running British pub and restaurant. All right, time for our pick segment. Let me put up the baseball lines here just so everybody knows. We didn't get a chance to do that earlier. Dodgers at St. Louis in about 25 minutes. Mets are at Miami again, Philadelphia, Colorado. Suarez, Senzatella, Atlanta, Washington as well. They'll close out that series. Atlanta lost yesterday in the American League. Oakland and Chicago, the other day game. Cleveland and Minnesota, Quantrill and Dobnak. Baltimore, KC, Means, Hernandez. New York, 114 over Toronto. Toronto looking for a 4-game sweep. Jose Barrios is an underdog against the Yankees and Nestor Cortez tonight, who are on a 5-game losing streak. I thought the Yankees would end up getting their winning streak set up right there. So, Charlie, early picks today, and of course, we'll have later picks by 6 o'clock Eastern. Go ahead.
My early pick is the Dodgers. I'm riding that wave, baby. I like the Dodgers minus 150, and I don't like that A's White Sox game. Manaea has been inconsistent, and the White Sox are hot. So
White Sox are hot. They may be cruising. I might take the White Sox. That game at 3:45. I haven't picked them yet.
Had I played that game, I would have probably gone the Sox.
Yeah, last night the White Sox. This is the third game of a 3-game series for the White Sox. The series split at 1 game apiece. Oakland needs the win. White Sox, they're very hungry. Tony La Russa is still very aggressive, and he'll go after it as well too. But as of right now, I'm going to go with the Dodgers too. Tony Gonsolin back in the rotation, minus 150. The Dodgers will not have any openers at this point for the rest of the year because Clayton Kershaw will be back next week, and Tony Gonsolin is back today. Yes, and they'll be back this week too. So the openers might be a thing of the past as they have Buehler, Urias, and Scherzer going already. And now add Kershaw back and add Gonsolin back. I like the Dodgers against the Cardinals this afternoon. That's going to start in about 25 minutes. Congratulations to the Hall of Famers, Larry Walker, Derek Jeter, Ted Simmons, Marvin Miller, of course. The Major League Baseball Players Association will not be anything without him. We'll talk a little bit about that more next week as well, too. Thanks to Britannia Arms for your sponsorship. 40 years celebrating in Cupertino. BritanniaArmsDeanza.com, 408-252-7262. We will be back tomorrow, 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, a little baseball, but the Friday football show, including our intern, Nick Robinson, as well. For Charlie O, Vasi Vadaparty here. That's the Make the Money and Run podcast for Thursday, September 9th, 2021. We will see you tomorrow with a full Friday football show. Take care, everybody.